now, good.
Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this this public meeting, special public meeting under the Planning Act to order. It's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak that the agenda for the March 9, 2015 special meeting of Committee of the Whole be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Okay.
There are two pieces of correspondence that were received that have been added as amendments,
Okay.
but I do have a resolution.
Okay. The clerk has indicated that when the time comes, there will be additional items of correspondence that I think were on your desks, okay? So the next item is disclosure of the pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That's any conflicts of interest. Do any members have any conflicts? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must declare a conflict of interest under the in-camera session, item 1, due to ownership of a property of my spouse.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Any other conflicts? There are no others. Can that be so noted? Thank you. We'll now move to the agenda, and I have a little thing to read here about notice requirements. And this is for an application for zoning bylaw amendment for 768 Canberra Road, file number AM0115. This is an amendment to allow for the fulfillment of a condition of consent. The Planning Act requires under section 3412, the council must hold at least one public meeting for the purpose of informing the public of the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw. This public meeting has been called to satisfy these requirements. Notice of this meeting was provided by prepaid first-class mail to all persons who are listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 120 meters of the subject property on January 29th, 2015. The notice provided information on the property and the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw as amended. In addition to planning staff providing information to the application, we also receive any comments which a member of the public may wish to offer. There is an attendance list on the table. We would ask all present to print their name and complete mailing address if they wish to be notified of the passage of amendment by council, should this occur. If a person or public body decides to file an appeal of a decision made by council in respect to the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw and does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Pelham before the proposed amendment is adopted or refused, the Ontario Municipal Board may dismiss all or part of the appeal. In closing, we stress at this point no decision has been made on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and therefore any and all comments received will be taken into account by council for their consideration. Now we have a planning report and planning's presentation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and member of council, and also the member of the public in attendance tonight. I will be presenting the public meeting for 768 Canberra Road, zoning amendment application AM0115. The purpose of this application is to fulfill a condition of consent, a lot line adjustment to accommodate enlarging the Church of Christ parking lot.
Just a moment, Ms. Hannah. Mr. Glover, might you adjust the lighting so that it doesn't appear on the screen? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. The location of the parcel is on the south side of Canberra Road, east of Maple Street. The municipal address is 768 Canberra Road. The legal description is Plan 16, Part Lot 9, New Plan 703, 59R-6417, Part 3. The subject parcel is surrounded by single detached dwellings on lots that are zoned RV1, according to the town zoning bylaw number 1136/1987 as amended. In addition, adjacent to the parcel is institutional zone land that is associated with the Church of Christ. For committee's information, should the provisional consent be finalized, the subject land Part 2 will merge in title with the Church of Christ property Part 3. The consent sketch is provided on the right-hand side of the screen, and the red square indicates Part 2, which is the subject land. The purpose of the consent was to convey Part 2 to Part 3, which is the southern portion, which is the location of the Church of Christ. The provisional consent was granted on August 6, 2014. The subject land, that being Part 2, is proposed to be rezoned. Very briefly, the parcel history. In 1971, the parcel was zoned residential village. In 1978, it was rezoned to residential village 1. In 2013, a consent application was received by the Committee of Adjustment. Provisional consent was granted. However, it lapsed due to the conditions not being met. In 2014, the Committee of Adjustment heard another application. The provisional consent was granted. On January 15, 2015, a rezoning application was received by the Planning Department to rezone the subject parcel from Residential Village 1 to Institutional I zone. Briefly, a review of the provincial policies. According to the provincial policy statement 2014, the parcel is within a settlement area. It is not within the Greenbelt Plan area. It is not within the Niagara Escarpment Plan area. It is within a built-up area according to the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Provincial policies direct development towards settlement areas to utilize existing municipal sewage and water services, facilitate compact form, and encourage an appropriate range and mixture of community uses. According to the regional official plan, the subject parcel is designated as built-up area. Regional policies state urban areas will be the focus of long-term growth and development and encourage the provision of a variety of housing types and community services. In the town official plan, the subject parcel is designated as urban living area built boundary. The permitted uses include single detached residential dwelling units and complementary uses such as residential care facilities, daycare centers, institutional uses, and convenience commercial uses. The town zoning bylaw, currently the parcel is zoned residential village 1 zone. The permitted uses include one single detached dwelling and also home occupations. The proposed zone is institutional. The permitted uses include churches, cemeteries, day nurseries, nursing homes, and schools. In terms of the agency and public comments received as of last week, in terms of the agencies and departments of the town, no agency or department expressed any issues or objections to the application. Again, at the time of writing the report, only one comment had been received, and that was for a request for information. As stated previously, on January 29, 2015, notice was circulated to external and internal departments directly affected by the proposed application, and notice was circulated to all assessed owners within 120 meters of the parcel's boundaries. In addition, a public notice sign was posted on the property facing Canberra Road. In conclusion, this presentation has provided information on zoning bylaw application AM 0115 to fulfill a condition of consent. No recommendations or decisions concerning this application have been made at this meeting. If there are any questions or comments from the committee or the chair and also the public, I'd be happy to answer them. I'd like to thank you for attending this evening's meetings, and following this evening's meetings, questions or comments on this file may be directed to myself at the extension or email provided on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hannah, for your presentation. Do members of council have any questions for our planner? At this point, Councillor Ribbiak?
I have one, but just to establish whether the question would be in order. It has to do with information that has come to us via the correspondence that we've not yet received. Shall I hold that question?
If you could.
I will.
Okay, thank you. And maybe the applicant could answer that or might address it as well.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question, Ms. Hannah, and that is, I do understand that the initial consent lapsed. Was there any change in the requirement of consent from, I guess, what's before us to what was lapsed, or is it essentially the same?
It was the same application, and I believe, I'll just review the document, that the conditions of the consent were also consistent.
Okay, that's fine, if that can just be addressed, you don't have to address it right now. But I guess in reality, we're dealing with this consent application, not the last one, so maybe it's not a fair question as well. Any other questions? Okay. There being none, thank you very much, Ms. Hannah, for your presentation. And now on the agenda, next would be if the applicant would like to make a presentation. And I see Mr. Ross Gilbert is here. And for the record, can you remind us of your address so that it can be noted in the minutes, please?
Fine. Well, thank you for the opportunity of presenting this. I'm a slow reader, and sometimes I don't absorb everything. So I've been going over these letters quickly, these objections. First of all, it says my grandchildren play in his backyard. Well, my grandchildren are 28 and 30, and they're in Arkansas. So, but my sister-in-law has one grandson, and they live a couple doors up. Also, the one letter states about that we have space at the front. We have a bit of a grass there, but it's not big enough to do much with, and our sign is in the middle of it, and we have a tree there, and occasionally we'll have something on the lawn outside. We have a lawn giveaway for the community, and we would hate to do away with that small strip of grass that we do have. And presently, what the problem is, we just don't have enough parking space. And it's mainly Sunday morning, and it gets parking close to the road, and there's some people parking along the road. And that's our big concerns on account of safety, as well as just not enough room. And in here it shows water in there. We don't have much of a water problem standing. Right after a heavy rain, there may be some water in there, but it gets away. There is a drain over at the other side, and that water runs across and out to the catch basin at the front. And the way where the parking lot is, the way the surveyor has it planned, any runoff from the parking lot will come across to our lot and eventually find its way to the storm sewer. And I don't think there's anything else that I need to add to that. But that's basically, and it will take roughly maybe half of the piece, I'm not sure what it would be, of the section that will be for parking, and the rest will just be green space, the same. And it's on the back end, it's right off of our parking lot that we have now. Does
Okay.
anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Just, can you remind us of your address
Yeah,
for the record?
I'm 754 Welland Road.
Okay, and you're an agent of the church, is that correct?
Beg pardon?
You're representing the
The
church?
church is 765.
Okay, thank you. Now, there may be questions. Questions to our applicant? Councilor Rivak?
I did, but again, it's with regard to that letter, but as the proponent has made reference to it, maybe I can go ahead and ask.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I did have an interest in the suggestion that was put forward by some of the correspondents with regard to the area that is available to you now for parking and which you apparently are not. But I take it from your presentation that you've considered that.
We have considered it, we've considered everything, and there really just doesn't seem to be much of an alternative. And as far as the height, see, when I was a kid, Boyce's had a honey house there, and the old cement slab is still in the middle of our parking lot. We're removing that, and that will be lowered some so that the slope, and that ground at the back goes up quite fast. So, and their plan, what the plan is to put about a 15-inch tile in where this swale comes down through. And we'll be not too far off level by the time you level here and get the tile covered to go back.
Okay, thank you. Counselor?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of considering the land that you have available for parking, how many additional cars would you be able to put there if you did use it?
If what?
If you did use the land you have now for parking, how many additional spaces would you be able to get?
Well, I don't know, you wouldn't get very many. By the time you get around our sign and what grass there is, it's not very big. I don't think you would get maybe 5 or 6 at the most.
Okay.
And just another question, Mr. Mayor, if I might. I was interested as well in your presentation that while you were interested in purchasing the block that was indicated, it's not your intention to use all of it for parking? How much would be used? What would that look like? And how much, and the green space, if I may, just to add to that.
I would think, see, the piece we're purchasing is a little over 90 feet deep, and it's the width of Jaeger's property, which is about 117, I think. And the parking area, I would think maybe 50% of it. And the balance will still be green space.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Counselor Papp?
Quickly through you, Mr. Gilbert, is part of this is because your church congregation is growing? Is that,
Yes, there is a few new ones.
right?
You know how it is. It keeps coming. And some of the cases where there's only 1 or 2 people coming in a car, too.
Okay.
And that takes more parking space. In fact, there's been, what? 3, at least 3, most every Sunday, comes over and parks in our parking lot at the flower shop. And that's something else. This one letter states that the school bus is in there. Well, the school bus comes and parks in our driveway Friday night, and it's there till Monday morning, and it comes over at 4:30 Wednesday afternoon, and it stays there overnight.
Okay.
When you say our, you mean the flower shop? Is
At
that
the
correct?
flower shop,
Flower shop on the weekends. So it's only on the church
It's only
property on a
the
Wednesday
church through
through the
It's
week?
there Monday and Tuesday. It's not there Wednesday. And it's there Thursday. Well, it's not there Friday. Well, just early Friday morning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Counselor
And
Papp?
then,
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm satisfied.
Thank you. I think Counselor Kersey has a question. Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 questions. Mr. Gilbert, are you going to be hard surfacing the parking lot, or is it going to be a gravel-type parking lot?
at the present time would be gravel.
Okay, okay. And when you say you're going to be covering 50% of the surface area for parking, are you covering the portion that is closest to the church?
Yes.
And leaving the green space as a buffer to the neighbors?
To the neighbors, yes. There'll be, at one side, the neighbors to the west will be the closest to the parking lot. Then the biggest piece will be the other side, which is open field, really. And the Jaeger's house is behind. It covers the whole back end of the piece of property. And we're not going all the way, it won't be all the way to the property line there.
I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Counselor Rubiak for a second time?
It is, and only because I can think of the question earlier.
Sure.
But thanks, Mr. Mayor. The school bus that's there sometimes, but not always, but always on the weekends, does that belong to the church?
It's never, no, it's the public school bus. Bob Yeager drives it for the public school.
But as I understand it from the correspondence, that takes up a number of the parking spots that would otherwise be available to you?
Yeah.
No?
I
But
think
it's
I
not there on,
On Sundays?
answered that.
Sunday.
He answered
Oh,
that
I
already.
thought it was the other way, that it
No,
was there
no.
on the weekends. It's not there on the
No,
weekends.
that was when he wasn't, he said our place, so it's at the flower shop across the street.
it's at the flower shop.
Which Mr. Gilbert owns. So
Thank
on
you.
the
I
weekends-
apologize for
Pardon me, I
misunderstanding
should have
that.
made it
Yeah.
clear.
No, that's okay.
But
No, it's okay. That's why
Bob
we do
brings
this.
it in Friday night at 4:30 when he comes in, and it's there till Monday morning at the flower shop.
The flower shop.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
And the same on Wednesday night. So it's just there in the morning on Wednesday and the morning on Friday. When he leaves at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's gone for the day, both days.
I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate
Okay.
your presentation.
Thank you very much for having the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And now, I guess we move to, is there any other input or questions from committee on, for staff? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, will this come under site plan control? So they'll be looking at things like buffering and fencing, et cetera, drainage, et cetera?
Ms. Hannah?
As a condition of the consent, as well as a condition in the official plan for rezoning to occur for this property, there will be site plan control on this parcel. Planning staff have been working with the applicant's surveyor in terms of designing the parking lot to alleviate the drainage concerns addressed in the most recent correspondence from neighbors, and to also previously to address it before it became a concern. So that will be coming forward in the recommendation report, a copy of the final lot grading plan that's been recognized by the surveyor.
Excellent, thank you, Councillor.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Any other committee input? Okay, thank you very much. There being none, it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Drilly. The committee of the whole received the issue sheet concerning an application for rezoning application AM 0215 for the lands locally known as 768 Cambro Road, Church of Christ. And further, that committee direct planning staff to prepare a recommendation report that will be presented at a subsequent council meeting. Should that be one? That's what I thought. I read one earlier. So the gist is that we're directing staff to prepare a recommendation report that will be presented at a subsequent council meeting. Any further discussion regarding this? Councilor Ribbiak, you're looking confused. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm generally confused, Mr. Mayor. The opposite is actually what's normal. My question is with regard to the correspondence. That's not been received yet? That's not part of,
That's the next motion.
that's the next motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried, and we look forward to that report. Next, Councillor Ribbiak, is the correspondence been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King, that the correspondence received at the public meeting held on March 9th, 2015, regarding the application for zoning bylaw amendment, file AM 0115 for the Church of Christ, 768 Canberra Road, be received for the information of committee and referred to the Director of Planning and Development Services as follows: James Federico and Mark and Lisa Parr. Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you. Actually, it's just a technical question, really. One of the two pieces of correspondence was actually not addressed to us. Does that make a difference?
Mr. Glover? It was addressed to committee of adjustment, the Parr correspondence?
Yes.
is
Because the correspondence pertains to this application and has implications on it, we will include it and address it in our recommendation report.
that- Okay, thank you. Councillor?
So were there any other pieces of correspondence to the Committee of Adjustment on this issue?
Mr. Glover?
We're not aware of any.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there was correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Parr. However, it was only to ask that the application be postponed. It wasn't objecting. There were no letters of objection received from the public at the Committee of Adjustment level.
Thank you. Councillor?
So this actual correspondence was not presented at Committee of Adjustment. It's come to us for the first time, but it's addressed to the Committee of Adjustment.
Yes, but Councillor, it's regarding file AM 0115, which is to fulfill the consent file number. So it is,
It's pertinent.
I would argue that it's specific to this meeting. It's dated today, as opposed to Committee of Adjustment.
My question was does it make a difference? And if it doesn't, that's a good answer.
Mr. Glover, does it make a difference?
In purity, these comments and conditions probably should have been brought forward at the consent. We're just fulfilling a condition of consent through the zoning amendment. Is there a right to offer these comments through the zoning process? Absolutely, and we will consider them. It's a chicken and egg thing. If the council doesn't approve the zoning amendment, then the consent fails. So it can be attacked either way. They've expressed their comments to us, and we will include in the recommendation report.
Okay, thank you. Is that helpful?
So it's in order for us to receive it even though it wasn't addressed to us. This is what I'm hearing, and I'm fine with that. I just wanted to be sure that there was no issue.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the correspondence was first sent to me via email to be considered this evening. And then the signed copy was dropped off, so that they knew that there was a meeting this evening, so
Okay.
it is pertinent to the application, so I would concur with Mr. Glover.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else to the correspondence? So we will receive it. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. And that's it for the planning meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Gilbert. And staff will contact you in terms of the next steps and when the report becomes public and all that. So thank you very much. This public meeting is closed. Thank you. So we do have other business for council. And it's been moved by Councillor Junkin that the next portion of the report be closed to the public in order to consider the following. Item under section 239(2)C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, one item. And item under section 239(3.1), education or training session, one item. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We'll now move into closed session. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hannah. So, thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Junkin that council adjourn the in-camera session and that council do now rise with report. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Kersey may have a conflict with this particular item.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to enunciate that again.
Don't go anywhere, we gotta have beverage.
This was the item for which you declared the conflict earlier.
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor, and the Councillor has left the room. It's been moved by Councillor Papp that the confidential report pertaining to the closed session item 1AI be received for information, and that staff be authorized to take the direction given during the in-camera session in this regard as follows. That staff be directed to prepare the necessary documents for council consideration pertaining to a memorandum of understanding between the Town of Pelham and the YMCA of Niagara regarding YMCA's potential role in the development of a new Pelham Community Centre for consideration at the next regular council meeting of March 16th, 2015, and further, that staff be directed to amend the terms of reference for the Architectural Design Advisory Committee to remove the ex officio status for the YMCA representative on this committee, and that they become a full member of the committee. Any questions or further comments regarding this? Councillor Ribiak?
Thank you. Perhaps in the form of an amendment, perhaps they should read full voting member of the committee for extra clarity.
I'm going to add that in as a friendly amendment if Councillor Papp is,
I don't have
we are in
a problem with
committee,
that.
so, committee of the whole, it's a full voting member. Okay? And just a question about this, we're directing staff to do this. This will come to us in a report, will it, Mr. CAO, to be approved? Is that correct? Okay. So that will be on the same timeline, will it not?
Yes.
Councillor Papp?
Very quickly, so do I assume, Mr. CEO, you will advise ADAC that this is taking place, or we wait till March 16th?
I will, I had an email from the chair today, which I have not responded to because
No,
I
you
wanted
can.
to wait until, but you've risen with the report now,
Right,
so
now you
I
can do
will
that.
inform.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Okay,
cool.
good. Thank
Okay.
you. Any other questions? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. If you might call in. Councillor Kersey, can you hear us out there? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
It has been moved by Councillor Junkin that this special meeting of Committee of the Whole be adjourned until the next regular committee scheduled for Monday, March 16th, 2015, unless sooner called by the mayor. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.